All right, so welcome everyone to the webinar. We're so happy that you can make it before some of us go on vacation for Thanksgiving. Definitely overdo it on the turkey. And so while we still have our wits about us, let's talk about scaling smarter and automating your MSP stack. We have some fine folks joining us from CIPP, and we'll talk about Sherweb a little bit. We'll talk about CIPP. We'll talk about the relationship between Sherweb and CIPP. And then a handful of integrations that skew a bit more towards automation. So first, let's go over the agenda for today, and then we'll talk a little bit about ourselves, we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll jump right in. I'll give you a brief introduction to Sherweb for those that are new. I'll talk a bit about Sherweb's integration strategy, our partnership with CIPP, and then a very special demo from Mr. Kelvin over here. We'll get to speak with Daniel, who is both a valued Sherweb and CIPP partner. And then Kelvin, Ashley, and I will cover some additional automation scenarios using some of our most popular RPAs out there in other platforms. And then hopefully we'll have managed our time well enough that we'll have some time for Q&A. So with further ado, I'll just introduce myself and I'll turn it over to my co-hosts. My name is Rick Stern. I am the Senior Director for Sherweb. I've had the privilege of being at Sherweb for about 2.5 years, but I have been in the IT industry for about 7 or 8 years. And then I've been building digital products across multiple verticals for about 15 years now. So my role here is to help set and drive the strategy for Sherweb's platform, APIs and integrations, and I have several product teams that allow me to do that. And so I'll turn it over to Kelvin, and then we can go from there.
Amazing. The only question I have about your intro is, you say you've been in IT for 8 years, but then you must have started in IT when you were like 12 or something.
That's right. Yes, I just celebrated my 21st birthday, so thank you.
Exactly. Well, hey everyone, my name is Kelvin Tegelaar. Don't worry, I won't ask you to pronounce my last name. No one can do it, not even me. Microsoft MVP, creator of CIPP, and I love having a good time with friends. So the primary reason I'm here today is to show off the demo for Sherweb and just hang out with Rick and Ash because, hey, it's always a good time. And of course, Ashley, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, yes, Ashley Cooper, COO at Cyberdrain. I've been around the MSP space for a while. I do community work for Rewst, and I worked at Gradient before that, primarily all focused on just operational efficiency and making sure everybody is able to do more with their tools. So super excited, thanks. And we've got like a cooler guest than all of us here, I think, right? Daniel, that's you.
I guess. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Van Benthuizen, and like Kelvin, I won't ask you to pronounce that. I've been in the industry for about 21 years with Puma Managed IT for 17. I'm the Chief Information Officer, and I'm directly responsible for all integrations and automations within Puma.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.
No
and
problem.
fun fact, Ashley and I had actually worked together at Gradient a number of years ago, and that's where we became BFFs, and we're still BFFs to this day. So it's great to have her on. All right.
You never know. You're still going to be, one day, we're going to be surprising you with our Rick Astley.
You never know. You never know. Rick roll, everybody, at the end of the call. Okay, so who is Sherweb? Really quick. So for those who don't know, we are a cloud solutions provider that has been in business since 1998. Started with web hosting, but obviously we've grown up a bit since then. We have more than 7,500 partners of all kinds, 1,000 plus employees in North America and Europe, and all of us are servicing more than 100K client organizations in a variety of capacities. We are entirely partner-centric, and we'll often go above and beyond for our partners to ensure that your business is growing. And we'll kind of go through how we do that. Obviously, in order to be a cloud solution provider, we need to have a marketplace. So we specialize in cloud-based services from vendor partners like Microsoft, who is our bread and butter, Google, Veeam, Huntress, Rewst, etc. Our marketplace is growing every month, and I want to say we've added 20 plus vendor solutions and vendors alone within our marketplace in the last year. So we are certainly expanding that. But we're also more than a marketplace, and we're very proud of the service layer that we have on top. We have a number of teams specializing in managed services. We have consultants and experts to get the most out of Microsoft, help desk solutions, 24/7 support, and more. And then finally, those services are wrapped up with a partner-centric mentality that I mentioned earlier. We are a high-touch organization, and if you ask any partner, they'll probably tell you that Sherweb supports you in ways that most CSPs and distributors don't. So we definitely go above and beyond to do so. And then finally, not to brag, but we did just win Microsoft's Canadian Partner of the Year. So we're definitely doing something right here. Just a preview of what's on the table when you work with us, but feel free to reach out after this and we can talk more. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, we've been adding a lot of compelling vendor solutions to our platform over the last year. We're still working hard to do that, with Huntress being our most recent announcement. Huntress is getting into the CSP distributor game, and they decided to partner with Sherweb first. And so that said, we are focusing on quality over quantity to make sure that we offer the best marketplace and CSP experience to our partners. So with that, I just want to touch on integrations real quick, the crux of this call. So you know who we are. Let's talk a little bit about why integrations matter and what it means to your bottom line. I like to think that we're all smart here, we're all talented in the IT industry, so I don't need to go into detail why integrations matter. You probably know that already. At a high level, though, we see them internally as table stakes to ensure your systems and platforms can talk to each other, share data, trigger workflows, which is the primary topic of this call, and all to drive beneficial outcomes for you and your partners. And so the why is many: data synergy between systems for better operations, client experience and growth. And obviously the goal is to automate as much as possible to prevent those autonomous day-to-day tasks that you don't necessarily need to spend man hours on. Our approach in how we see integrations for you is full stop. We want to ensure every feature, function, and workflow, anything we change or build in our platform, in the Sherweb platform, is also made available outside of it. And so we see this as critical to solving the integration gap that MSPs face when agonizing over which vendors to work with. You have the choice between what integrations and what data availability you want to make available between those systems and platforms. And so having that interconnectivity should be table stakes because of all the benefits that we touched on before. And so in order to ensure that we can bridge this integration gap and allow others to build against our platform, we need to be API driven to do so. And so that means better documentation. We're moving to README and things of that nature. But we'll also be publishing examples, templates, workflows to make sure that we are being as API driven as possible, and our development teams are API first. And so that only after we do that can we make sure that we build a great experience on top, because we know it'll benefit more than just us. It'll benefit our partners as well as our vendor integration partners like CIPP. And then lastly, I'll say that we are making an investment in third and first party integrations and integrators. Sherweb dog foods our own APIs and webhooks to build our own billing PSA integrations. We're working with our RPA integrations. And we know that if our integrators struggle to build against our own endpoints, so will others. And so we try to prove that out internally ourselves first, so that we can foster that community support that CIPP is so well positioned to do. And we want to make sure that as the community is continuing to invest in their own integrations, that we are lockstep with them. Just very quickly, a list of some of the integrations that are available with Sherweb, CIPP being top of the list for a very good reason. And then I'll turn it over to Kelvin to introduce CIPP and where you guys came from, and then we can kind of jump into a demo.
Awesome. Okay. Well, introducing CIPP is always a fun part, because I own an MSP. I've started my MSP very long ago, and the primary reason CIPP got started was SPI-driven development. There was no good M365 management tooling available in the market, so we decided, I'll build it myself, and that eventually led to 100 users, which now led to almost 10,000 MSPs using SIP in their day-to-day operations. It's absolutely been a crazy journey. CIPP stands for the Cyberdrain Improved Partner Portal, and the entire idea behind it is that we have a way to standardize your M365 tenants in the easiest way possible. So if you're in this webinar and you have no clue what CIPP does, trying to condense everything it does in one go is almost impossible, but I would say it is M365 multi-tenant management at its best. It takes care of the pillar of security for you. It takes care of user management. It helps you with the help desk. James just said in chat, it does all the things. And that is a very accurate description. It does all the things. It automates all the routine, everything that your help desk does, but it also helps a lot with the invisible workload there is of jumping through 20 different portals to get one task done. I mean, we've all been there. If you have ever been there as an engineer and you had to manage M365 and you had to, for example, convert a user to a shared mailbox, especially a couple of years back, it was jump to the M365 portal. From the M365 portal, jump to the Exchange portal. From the Exchange portal, click on shared mailboxes. Wait 20 seconds for that to load. Click on the mailbox you want to convert. Click on convert mailbox and hope it worked. Because the biggest issue was that in most cases, the portal would just give you a weird error and you'd have to go through PowerShell anyway. So that is the pain that CIPP tries to solve for everyone. So yeah, that's the CIPP introduction. And each portal always changes too, as someone in chat just said, I think Will. So yeah, let me go demo how the actual integration looks, and we'll just chat about the CIPP integration, about cool features that are in there. I will spoil a new feature that is coming because I love spoiling things during webinars. And I'll also show off some other stuff, but let's just jump into it right now. Hold on, let me share my window. And I'm going to ask the most annoying question in the world that any presenter could ever ask. Hey, can you guys see my screen? Oh God, I hate this thing so much.
Soon.
Oh, it seems like it unshared my thing. Hold on, let me try that again. And
no,
there
the
we
answer
go.
is no.
The answer is no, see? So
yes, the
again,
answer is yes.
Everyone can see my screen. Perfect. There we go. So cool stuff about setup for the Sherweb integration. It is super simple. It is actually one of the simplest integration we have. If you've never seen CIPP, by the way, this is CIPP. This is our dashboard. What you're seeing right now is the absolute bleeding edge latest version of CIPP. So if something breaks, it's not my fault. My developers have probably pushed some broken code. I just really like showing the latest things. To set up the Sherweb integration, you hit Setup Wizard, you hit Integrations. And there you have a pretty button with Sherweb right there. You click on it. And there you have the ability to set up the integration. Now, together, this information is all documented in the CIPP documentation. Docs.cip.app contains everything. You can find it there. You can find exactly how to create the application, what configuration steps to do in the Cumulus portal, all this kind of stuff. In the Cumulus portal, you have a section called API management. God, that is bright. And there you can create the API keys needed for Sherweb. So after setting up the integration, you have a section called tenant mappings. If you go to that section, here you map a specific tenant in your M365 environment to your tenant domain. So in this case, we have our test tenant 01, which we mapped to Cyberdrain test 01. What a surprise. In the settings, you also have a very cool other checkbox. And here we go with spoilers, because I'm just going to go through this fast. There's one really annoying thing that I have as an MSP. When we change vendors, it becomes nearly impossible because vendors do not enjoy collaborating anymore when you've told them, hey, I'm leaving, or hey, I'm migrating something. It always happens. And because of this, we've created the automated migration to Sherweb option. Having automated migrations means that CIPP will start monitoring when a specific license is being is in the time range to be canceled. It canceled it at the other provider and then moves it to Sherweb or buys it at Sherweb. So you have a couple of options for that with CIPP. You have the option notify only, which only gives you an email. You take care of the rest. You have the option buy and notify, which buys the new license at Sherweb, sends you an email, hey, you need to cancel the license at the other party. Or you have the option buy and cancel. Now, using buy and cancel, you have to select which type of licensing you want to migrate to. For example, we can't always say with each provider if you have yearly, monthly, or annual licenses. It all really depends. So most people want annual, paid monthly, or monthly. That's the license it'll buy at the moment that you start migrating. You can hit submit, and it will start saving this information. The cool thing is that we're adding some vendors to this. We are adding currently only PAX 8 is supported, and you'll have to enter your PAX 8 API keys. I won't show that right now as we're currently changing some integrations, but we're adding Ingram as a direct migration available target. So that means that at the moment that you use Ingram Micro, you don't have to immediately say, oh, I'm going to cancel all my licenses and I'm going to cancel all my license and I'm going to move over all in one go, because that's almost always impossible. In this case, you can just have it slowly migrate you over the time as each license expires, which is a very cool feature in my opinion. But that's not all we do. Like it's not the only purpose of this integration, because that would be a really boring integration, just migrating licenses, right? So let me show you guys some cool stuff. You ever have that at your MSP when someone sends you an email and they go like, hey, we have a new user starting and they're starting in 6 months. This is my email to notify you that you have to do that. That you have to create everything for them. And that's nice because it's always either 6 months in advance or 2 hours after they started. It's never in between. In the case of CIPP, you have a very cool feature where you can create a new user. For example, this important user is called blah blah. And this user is also blah blah. That's his username, because those are really amazing usernames. And then we scroll all the way down and we can say schedule user creation. We can schedule the creation date, which is cool. I mean, that's just the user creation. But the cooler part comes right here. If we have no licenses available, in this case, I have -1 license available, so it won't show it. This is purposely done for the demonstration. But if we have 0 license available, a checkbox appears here and says, hey guys, do you want to buy the license at the moment the user starts? So that means it buys the license only if there's no license available when the user start date is entered. If you have a license available, for example, you had someone quit 2 days before, it won't buy the new license. It'll just assign that one. But if there's no license available, it'll automatically buy it at the date the user starts, which is absolutely amazing because you won't have to worry anymore about buying the license exactly on the right date and making sure that you don't have too much overlap. So this is a really cool feature for that. Another one that we have is our license reporting. CIPP under tenant administration reports has its Sherweb license report and the license report. The license report is a standard license report that everyone knows. Everyone's used to it. It's a very simple one. Here we see that we have Microsoft 365 Business Premium. We have 2 used, but we have -1 available. Let's go fix that. The Sherweb license report shows us exactly what we have at Sherweb, including all other licenses for this tenant. So not just the M365. If you've bought something else under the tenant, it'll also show this. I've just changed the settings, so it might take a while for this to load. And as I said, this is a development environment. Please don't get angry when stuff breaks.
Calvin, while we wait for that to load, there is a question around the co-term setting. So what about the co-term setting?
That is a really good question that I can't answer directly. I think my developers are in the chat right now, and if John or RVD could answer that for me, that'd be fantastic. So when this loads, you get the Microsoft 365 Business Premium NC monthly that they have, and you see that I only have one license. So here we get a lot of options for the licensing, and this also empowers your tier ones, because in a lot of cases, your tier one engineers, they are not directly in Cumulus. You don't want them there. It's annoying. It's dangerous. It's finance. You don't want them to know an entirely different portal yet again. So here you can give your tier ones access to increase the license count by 1 or decrease the license count by 1, or just generally increase the license count by any number you want. Hey, Rick, how would you guys feel if I buy 1,000 licenses under my test account or 10,000 licenses under my test account right now?
You know what? For you, anything.
Okay, let's try to just add 2. We'll just add 2 licenses.
Okay,
and as you can see, this immediately starts buying the license at Sherweb. The license change is executed, and we should see an updated quantity in a couple of seconds. And this should actually normally be much, much faster, but my development version is lacking in speed a little today. It's very much prepared for Thanksgiving. My development thing is hosted in Azure in the United States, so it's 100% prepared for Thanksgiving. Let me just manually refresh, see if it's a little faster. There we go. And now you see we've added 2 licenses very easily. We can even remove one again, saying like, you know what, decrease the license count by 1. We just hit OK. It starts processing on the Share website. It waits for the actual reply to say, hey, this has confirmed that this change has completely been executed. And then we wait a little bit longer, because Microsoft also has a bit of replication on their side, for the license to become available. What are other cool things that I could show you guys regarding this? Well, one of the other cool features is our offboarding wizard. If you've never seen our offboarding wizard, this might blow your mind. The same way as we onboard users, you have the ability to offboard any user you want. For example, let's offboard these 2 users that have left today. We click on next, and we have all of these options available. And the cool thing is, if you have the Sherweb integration configured, you have the option to remove licenses. But this doesn't just remove the license. This decreases the license count if, with a small if, this is also documented, it decreases the license count if it is in term of being able to be canceled. So it either has to be a monthly license, or it has to be near its expiry date within 7 days or something like that. I think it's 7 days, right?
I think it's within 7 days.
Yeah, within 7 days. So then it actually removes the license. If it's unable to remove the license, it will report this in the next part of the wizard. It will tell you, hey, you're not able to remove the license right now because of it's a yearly license or something like that. It'll tell you exactly what feedback there is. Other cool features are that you can immediately set mailbox access for the people that are staying and need access to their mailbox. Or immediately forward their email or send stuff, send an out of office immediately. So this is like, hey, I got canned, see you later. And then that out of office is set for that user. Super simple. Also, very cool feature. Again, everything is schedulable in onboarding and offboarding. So you can schedule this for the end of the month, for the last Friday, for a Saturday night when they've had a rough conversation and your client sent you a iMessage, oh no, I'm panicking, I just fired someone. Like at those moments, you're able to schedule this and say like, okay, you know what, next step, done. And you can see all the settings in the screen right now that you've selected. The moment you hit submit, it either starts the offboarding or it schedules the offboarding. Of course, you don't want to just click that willy-nilly. Be careful with all the checkboxes, because some of this is irrevertible. I think they have something like cancel. We have a cancel all users calendar invites. Be careful with that. Then that might not be the best thing to do to an existing user. So that's some of the integration stuff that we do in CIPP. The migration feature is one of the coolest features that we've built internally. We've had so much fun doing that because I love making it easier for people to get into relationships where they're a lot more satisfied. And one of the things as an MSP that I hate is being stuck in a bad marriage. I have that with some veterans. I'm stuck in a bad marriage and I can't go away because I'm either still in a contract for a couple of years or that kind of stuff. And this just makes it so much easier to leave and say, okay, you know what? We'll slowly migrate over. It's a more comfortable situation for everyone. Cool thing is about the Sherweb integration is that it also integrates with all of our other integrations. For example, if you're a Halo PSA user, or if you are a Ninja One user, then it will automatically push that information to those as well. It will immediately push the offboarding information to Halo PSA. If you're using the migration, the notifications won't go to your email or your webhook. They'll go into your Halo PSA. So you can immediately document, hey, we've canceled this license. We have to do this, that. You get tickets. And I mean, I'm not sure about everyone's MSP, but my MSP, we live in our ticketing system. It's probably the most important thing that we have. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that CIPP does regarding the Sherweb integration. There's cooler stuff available too. Hey, Rick, I'm not sure about scheduling or planning and stuff, but did we mean to immediately show people cool stuff right now, or were we going to just go through and talk about other things first?
You can immediately show cool stuff to people. Yeah.
Okay.
We can always change the flow around.
Exactly. I'll need my co-host for this. Hi, Ash. How are you?
Hi, Calvin. How are you?
Hi. I'm very well. So I want to show you guys Rewst, but before I show you guys Rewst, I want an explanation on what Rewst exactly is, because I'm an automator and I'm a nerd. I suck at explaining things in normal language, and that's why we have Ashley, the Kelvin translator.
You want me to talk about how this can work with Rewst?
Can you talk about what Rewst is and how it works and what its purpose is?
So for anybody Rick was talking about earlier, with the APIs and being able to ingest them. I know when I started out at my MSP, I was kind of understanding of the integrations that I needed, but I didn't really understand how I was supposed to, I'd get a vendor and they'd be like, yeah, we've got an API as an answer to the whole, do you have an integration with XYZ? And then you're like, okay, great, but what do I do with that API? Rewst is kind of like one of those tools. It's an orchestrator of business process flow. So it's like you can connect all your different API credentials and then build out drag and drop workflows that allow you to use those APIs in a more seamless way. So for example, you can do a lot more with when there's an API from CIPP that triggers to let you know information that you might not get from the UI, but then you want that programmatically to end up somewhere else. You can then build kind of a step-based thing that says, if I want this to come from here, it can go to there. So kind of like a business level, if this, then that a lot of people would have used back in the day.
Does that mean that everyone can automate?
It means that everybody can learn how to automate. Yes.
See, I love that. I love that answer. A visual automation building platform is also a really good description. RPA is often used, but I believe that Ashley is very determined to not call it an RPA, because RPA is more clicking things for you. Am I saying this right?
At least in the past, that's how traditionally the term has been used. It's been kind of become a little bit more accessible for APIs, but I'm probably just being a little bit of a hipster here, but when I was doing RPA stuff, it was specifically not API driven. It was click-based driven, UI driven. So that's why I'm being more specific.
It only took 30 minutes for us to hit our first back in my day. So
back in my day.
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately I'm too young to say back in my day, but
you're too young. Okay. I'm definitely too young.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So guys, this is Rewst. And if you've never seen Rewst, it's actually a pretty awesome tool, in my opinion. There's lots of options inside of Rewst with integrations. The most important one here being Sherweb and of course CIPP. CIPP also has a full integration into Rewst. And that means that if you are a little bit inclined to create automations for yourself using a visual automation platform or using a low-code platform, as it's called, it makes it a lot easier if these integrations are already available and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's what Rewst really excels at. In this case, I've made a very simple workflow. This took me about a minute to create, but this is a prime example of how easy it is to automate stuff with Rewst. All I did was I went to the Sherweb section. I took the Sherweb create subscription amendment. I put it on my canvas. And I've edited that it requires an input variable. You have some text, a label there, some text, and all I have to do now is hit test. It says what amount of licenses, what should the amount of licenses for this client be? Let's do 2. We hit test in this case because I'm just testing the workflow. Oh, and it failed. But you immediately see why this failed. An internal server error. More than 2 licenses have been assigned. The cool thing about Rewst is that on these things, on a failure, and I purposely made it fail, on a failure, you can make it execute a next command. So you could take, for example, I'm just taking a no-op, as it's called, a no operations right now. So on success, it should take this path, but on a failure, it should take this path. And you can already start, like if you're a bit like me, you can already start envisioning like, hey, on a license failure, a license by failure, I want to notify my delivery department and I want to make sure that they understand why the license failed to amend or decrease. And when it succeeds, I want to change my contract in my PSA, for example, Halo PSA or ConnectWise or that kind of stuff. And I want to amend that automatically to make sure that it has the right count compared to how I normally do my delivery process. So a lot of that thinking you can start building in here. And if you test with these, with this kind of tooling, with visual aids like Rewst, you don't have to worry about, oh, what API am I going to connect to? It all becomes, hey, I have a list of these integrations available, and what do I actually want to achieve? Do I want to connect to Slack? Do I want to connect to Ninja RMM? It becomes a lot easier instead of thinking in APIs, just in building blocks. And you get this visual process as well. And having a visual process available to yourself, it helps so much. Ash is super involved into everything process related at Cyberdrain at pretty much any company she goes to. I think she secretly whispered to Aaron once, you can't automate a process that doesn't exist. And he took it as a rule in the world.
Kelvin, sorry to interrupt you. Just on this point, like this is such an interesting value case for people like to trigger and all that kind of stuff. But you still be like, okay, this is manual. I'm still pressing those buttons. One of the things that I think people hear a lot about, but struggle with actually kind of wrapping their head around how it brings value to them, is simply a webhook, right? Like how you can pull that in. And so like, that's one of the things that I think that brings a lot of value, even simply just like you could throw like a single no-op on this task, have it connected to a trigger that has a webhook coming from a CIPP partner webhook. And then you can automatically start ingesting and deciding how you want to handle that business logic down the path too. So just wanted to add that.
And another interesting thing that I wanted to jump in there, we used Rewst for quite a while. One of the cool features about it is when an engineer is building out an automation, you can set step times, like how long it would typically take that engineer to do these things by hand. And then when these webhooks trigger and when these jobs are running, monthly, you get a report of how much time you've saved. So it was really easy to justify the cost of the platform with management was, hey, we're saving X amount of hours a month from engineering time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really cool platform.
Yeah, excellent point.
I think that's one of the most important things that people forget. These visual programming environments, they help you so much in saving engineering time. even if it's a small task that you've automated that normally wouldn't take so long. It's a 2-minute task to amend a license, but if you do those 2 minutes times 100 times a month, it adds up. It's actual engineering time that you're saving, especially if it's fully autonomous automation. Ash can talk a little bit more about that there's a lot of stages of automation, like don't try to immediately aim for perfection. Oh wow, I've just seen someone I've seen someone sharing their time saved in the chat right now. 226 hours time saved.
How many hours are in a month?
This month. 304
700
hours the previous
700
month.
something.
That's pretty good.
That's wild.
That's amazing. Sorry. Yeah, Ash could talk a little bit more about the stages of automation and how important it is to not let perfect be the enemy of good.
I could, but is that where we're at? I don't want to take away from everybody. I could talk about that topic.
Sure,
forever.
please. Yep.
Well, like Kelvin just said, it's not about like having the full thing ready to go at the end. And one of the things that we hear a lot from people who are either used to automating and like kind of understand automation really well, or even just kind of getting started and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, is like that thought of, oh, I have to have this like fully fleshed out. Here's the process, and if I can't automate it all the way, then I can't do anything. And so it's kind of like the flip side of the you can't automate a process that doesn't exist. You also can iterate on a process that you're building out or that you're trying to figure out what it is, right? And sometimes something as simple as just giving a form that has like one action attached to it to somebody who is in your like one of the things, sorry, jumping ahead, there's a gradient integration in Rewst as well, for example. So like you could connect a workflow on that side that just has a few simple little pieces to say, hey, reconcile. And then the user can actually be like human in the loop to just be able to like press a button and get things into a place for them. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be fully automated. There's still some manual steps involved, but you're making that person's life a little bit easier. If they had a 20-hour process, it's now 5 hours less than that. And then when you do that properly with like iteration and learning from them, you can then build that out and actually see value at the same time. I guess an example with so I don't know, Daniel, you were kind of commenting. Did you do you use Rewst yourself?
Well, we did. We used it from February till about, I want to say, October. We fell out of favor with it, not simply our work process got too complicated. It is a downside a bit of graphical is the debugging portion of it. I'm a coder background, so there was a lot of like run the process jump. I couldn't really put breakpoints in code to see what was going on. So like the process for debugging took along. I mean, one process that we had was ticket comes in from client's asking for a new user, go to Sherweb, hook in the graph. Do they have a license? No, they don't. Go back into our PSA, check the contract. Do they have the checkbox that they have an agreement signed that, hey, when a user is required and you don't have a license, you give us the basically the ability to buy on your behalf without any quoting or invoicing process. So if that's checked, it kicks off back to the next process, which goes to Sherweb's API, looks at the current SKUs, tries to find a matching user, because typically our users go, hey, please copy user A to user B. We look at that user, get their license, come back. So there was a 15 to 16 step process in that, checking contracts, checking licensing, updating the ticket, booking the time for the automation for the engineer to check that the process triggered, send a Teams message letting me know if there's a failure, sending a Teams message to the team letting them know the license is ready, assigning that license, and then kind of just spitting out the final email template to the new user and management HR going, hey, this user has purchased, this is the license they have, here's their username and password, they need to do these steps. So like it got to a point where we decided like, all of our tooling kind of needs to be internal because we're doing a lot of integration with AI. But Rewst is a very powerful platform because it gets you from 0 to like 80% real fast.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like the needling is where it starts to get a little bit problematic.
Yeah, and there's so much to be said for like you can use any automation platform for all of these tasks, and that's what's most important about, like, if there's anything from this call that I want everyone to take home, it's that this type of automation has been it's been made easier in the last years, partly thanks to AI, partly thanks to tools becoming available. CIPP is a prime example of that. We try to make sure that our front end is completely using the same APIs that our back end is, built completely API first. There's all of these really cool tools that are able to help you with this. Just jumping back to the CIPP automated migrations one more time, because I got a question through a DM on our Discord. The documentation contains exactly what you need to set up the automated migrations. It tells you how it works, when things are happening, that things must be active under a non-Sherweb CSP. You can migrate away from Sherweb. You can only migrate towards Sherweb with this integration, with automated migration setup, and all of these kind of things. So that's all documented there. It's best to open the documentation once you're setting up the Sherweb integration, because a couple of steps. It tells you what happens next. It tells you how you do scheduled license removal and additions, because that's also a possibility entirely outside of creating users. You can even scale the licenses, which for hospitals and these kind of things is super handy. For temporary workers, you can scale up and you can scale down at moments when we'll need 10 licenses available. We'll need 5 licenses available. You can automatically buy them and scale them down later on, exactly scheduled on the dates. I think that was all for my screen sharing. I'll hit the stop sharing button so
that's fine.
you can look at our beautiful faces.
And so I guess, while we're still on the topic of the CIPP and Sherweb integration, Daniel, I'd love to ask you how long have you been using, because you're both a partner of Sherweb and you're leveraging CIPP. How long have you been using the integration, between us? And I guess what are your high level thoughts? Is Kelvin telling the truth for the most part?
Yeah. So originally, one of our biggest, sorry, hit the space button. One of our biggest time burners was we work with a lot of PE-backed firms that are buying clinics. So there's high turnover. There's also high, like, hey, we're doing a de novo, we need 50 users, 100 user licenses. We're taking, we're doing that license purchasing probably at least 3 to 4 times a week. And one of our biggest hurdles was I was the only one with access to Cumulus. I was the partner. I set up everything, and I kind of became the de facto guy. They didn't want to give Cumulus to the engineers. Level 1, level 2, they didn't want mistakes, because we've had issues in the past on Pax8 where people would buy monthlies instead of annuals. They didn't match up the contract. The quantities would start to drift, and you would see, oh, why do they have 30 available licenses? Oh, well, we bought a license every time a new user was there. It's like, well, if they're firing someone and adding someone, it's a net zero. Don't buy a license.
Right.
The CIPP integration, I was day one when it was announced and it was available on GitHub. I immediately grabbed it and synced my fork and was like, all right, let's go. Got the engineers kind of demoed on it, saying, hey, like, you now have this power. Utilize this feature. Stop sending tickets in for management to increase license count. We've recently got all of our clients signed over to, hey, if you have this SKU already and there's none available at time of hire, we're just going to buy it and we'll maintain and manage your license count for you. And it took time off my plate where I'd have to go in and wait for the Sherweb API to load and go in there and click the quantity. And, it's not fast. And especially if I got I'm going to oust myself here, like 4 Chrome windows with 100 tabs each going in between different research topics. Like, all right, the Sherweb website loads pretty slowly when you got 5 gigs worth of RAM in Chrome. So it took that off my plate, gave them the power to do it. There's an SOP built around it. They're able to kind of feel a little bit more. The feedback I got from them was they're able to feel more autonomous. They're given the tools to succeed. They're not waiting on me or waiting on a level 2 or level 3 to handle that for them. They're just able to do it immediately. And it's been a tremendous help because we were originally using Rewst to scrape tickets and do all that lookup, which is like an 18-step process that was prone to breaking, whether the Sherweb API didn't load in time or someone left a space because we're regexing things. So we're trying to be, some people would misspell Microsoft license SKU numbers or put an extra 6 or a 3, and it caused a lot of havoc. So that integration was like, all right, we don't need this. We're just going to use straight CIPP for all onboardings and license management going forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Kelvin and Ashley, is there anything else that we want to talk about before maybe we turn it over to Q&A? I know there have been a lot of there's very active chat, handful of questions in the Q&A section, and so if we have enough time, I'd love to cover those if we can.
Yeah. So there's one more thing that I really want to emphasize that maybe I didn't really get to in the little part about automation. It's that make sure that you, as an MSP, start focusing more and more on this type of automation, whether it's using AI, whether it's using the CIPP APIs or the Sherweb APIs, or just CIPP in general, or honestly, any product. Please, as an MSP, start focusing more on these types of automations and on business process automations for your clients, because the MSP of 5 years ago is dead. They don't exist anymore. There's no more MSP that is doing the exact same thing that they were doing 5 years ago, because our business has evolved so much. We're no longer installing small business servers. We're migrating people to M365, or we're setting up new M365 tenants for Gen Z entrepreneurs who've never, ever had a server in an office in their life. Business has changed a lot. And to make sure that every MSP, everyone on this call that is an MSP that wants to keep up, please make sure that you focus on these types of automations. And I understand that hearing about APIs and hearing about OAuth and all these complex terms that are around APIs, it scares you a little. It scared me when I got started with it. You should try to push away that fear and make sure that you do start automating.
There's one piece I like to give out as like, if there's a process and it's repeatable, it should be automated.
Yes.
It's a daunting task. When I first started it, realizing like we were an MSP since 2008, we transitioned from a VoIP company into the managed service space in 2008. Realizing the tasks, and it was daunting. I'm like, there's hundreds of processes, there's different customers with different requirements. Where do I start? The answer's simple. You start with the first ticket that comes in and goes, hey, this is a repeatable process. I do the same 10 steps every time. Focus on this, get it to where you need it to be, move on to the next, and keep that running track, because it's a daunting task. There's so much available. There's so many tools. The best way is to get started and find a process that's repeatable. Do it. It doesn't matter if it saves you a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, it adds up over time. And before you know it, you're saving 40 hours a week. You're saving an engineer's salary.
100% agree. And it's low barrier to entry. Start with the easy things first. Because, in doing them manually, you've done them 10, 20, 100 times. They're comfortable to you, but instead of still doing those, even though it's easy work, imagine just not having to think about that at all and focus on the part.
Error. You're prone to error.
Sure. And the last thing I'll say too is, don't go it alone. There's fantastic communities out there. CIPP themselves has a fantastic community on their Discord server. And so even if you have, automation questions that maybe don't necessarily 100% revolve around CIPP, or Sherweb for that nature, feel free to join that community. And the intelligent folks there will be more than happy to set you on your way. So I think before we jump into Q&A, I do think maybe there's a poll in chat, Nikila, that we're going to be.
Yep, just loading it up right now.
Okay, excellent. And then let me pull up Q&A just to make sure we.
I just want to emphasize that Ash just dropped some really cool information in the chat as well, specifically about the Microsoft Automation Center of Excellence, look at this kind of stuff because it helps you so much in creating these things. Ash shares all these amazing resources. She's absolutely brilliant when it comes to AI and automation. So pick her brain. It's what I always do.
That's just one. That's just one of the entry points. They have like an entire section on like they've got everything you need. It's like an automation center of excellence in a box kind of, where it's like here's how you can run your meetings, here's how you can find the people. But it's not like it isn't necessarily your deep techs that need to be the ones doing it, especially in today's day and age with like the tools that we've got available. Thinking about who those process savvy individuals are and who is the people internally that understand the pains that other people outside of the immediate purview feel. Thinking about like how are your salespeople inputting things and how are your finance people expecting to collect them, right? Like mapping that process can really make a big difference. And sometimes it's simple, just one step changes that can bring them all together more aligned.
Absolutely. We do have a question from Jordy, who's keen to try CIPP for our business, but I don't want to link it in all my partner centers straight away. Can I link it with a single tenant? Probably. So can I test it first?
Yes, absolutely. But in general, you should not connect it to your partner center tenant in that case. Immediately link it to a separate tenant that does not have GDAP available, because as soon as CIPP sees, oh, you have GDAP available, we'll try to connect to it. Like we're just trying to help. So connect it to a non-partner tenant in that case. That should work. If you ever get stuck, discord.gg/cyberdrain. Join our Discord, chat to the community. We have a specific section for community-based help. Even if you don't use CIPP yet, if you don't sponsor yet, or even if you're going to just use the free version, use it. Use that chat, because there's a lot of community members willing to help you out in trying to fix the problems that you have.
Right, I'm seeing another question. We set up a test tenant for that specifically to build our standard policy. Not a question, but an affirmation. I think that might be it for immediate Q&A questions. Does anyone in the chat have anything else that you'd like to ask us? Other on CIPP, Rewst, Gradient, PIA, automations in general, Sherweb.
Life. MSP life.
Yeah.
The question to the answer. The life, the universe, and everything.
Carl just asked a really good question. Is there any other way to subscribe to CIPP other than GitHub sponsorship? Currently, not. And please note that currently part. We're working on something.
And I do see
GitHub sponsorship approach has made it really is really seamless though right now for deployment. You sponsor on GitHub, and then the entire deployment process runs through for us there.
And Alex, question about Huntress. Yeah, if you're interested in purchasing Huntress through Sherweb, just fill in that poll that we prompted earlier, and someone will reach out to talk to you about Huntress. Can we use Rewst to automate device, laptop, PC ordering and autopilot onboarding?
Yes.
So physical.
Yes.
That is a very simple answer. That is a very straight yes. Yeah.
And if you're an IMI user, there's a Rewst integration for IMI as well, so you can push a lot of that stuff over through there properly.
And then how many of the automation shown in Rewst could be done in Power Platform?
A good portion if you want to manually write them.
Yeah. I was going to say, depends on whether you want to make them yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, the crates in Rewst is the bread and butter. It's the, hey, we built all the API connections for you. You just click and drag, drop your connections where they want to go. Doing it in Power Automate would be like you would write those all by hand with posts and gets requests.
Which is really annoying, by the way.
Yeah. The logic is hard when you need to do a lot of if then else.
Yeah. I'd say the crates in Rewst are really great, but for people who want to build, even just simply having the actions there that you can drag on instead of having to do everything, like figuring out the payloads and stuff like that yourself, is a big one for builders. as well.
Right. Any other questions? Okay. That might be it then. Closing comments from anybody.
I mean, I would just
Um,
like to take the time to thank Sherweb for the opportunity. And I mean, we were originally a PAX 8 customer and got kind of tired of dealing with no shows, no calls, no one able to answer our questions. I just want to give you guys a shout out. Like, you've been helpful with every project, every question, and every possible annoyance that I could have about Microsoft partner licensing and bothering you with those questions. You guys have been amazingly responsive and helpful for us to be successful.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate that.
very cool. My only closing comment is I'm going to copy James Gehring in chat, but I'm going to change it slightly. Sherweb good, CIPP good.
We do love Rewst too, so we can add Rewst.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Automation good.
Automation.
Integration good.
Yeah.
Turkey good.
Turkey
Gravy
good.
good.
Turkey good.
Yeah, gravy good.
Not roasted goods though. That's
No
nice.
goods. No goods, Ash. All right. So, all right. With I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for attending. The slides and recording, I believe, will be made available in the very near future. And then if you satisfied that poll that we put in chat, someone will reach out to you shortly. But thank you so much. More information, Kelvin, it's discord.gg/cyberdrain, and then cipp.org. Yeah.
App.
App. Yeah. And then sherweb.com. So excellent. Thanks, guys. Great seeing you. And have a great holiday if you're celebrating.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Daniel.